Hey guys, welcome to the Podtendo podcast. We spend about the first 5-10 minutes talking about a random topic. Then we get into the show proper. So if you're just listening the first time and you want to just listen to today's show, skip ahead. You'll hear a sound cue, probably some from music from the game, commercial or something fun, and then get into the show proper. Cool. So today I kind of had a topic, but last episode we didn't really get to both topics. So I'm going to throw this one up in the air. This is Remembrance Month and Movember and the month of Mario, especially here on Podtendo. I don't think anyone else does a month of Mario and talks like that. What would you prefer to talk about? Would you rather talk about quickly Five Nights at Freddy's or It?
Do we do 2 rants about movies in 1 month?
Oh, I see. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. Because I was going to say both. Maybe wait a little while. I don't know. Maybe rewatch it before we talk about it.
Yeah, we could do that. I know when we're recording this, the Nostalgia Critic just released his thing. So
yeah, so that was a while ago. That was like a month and a half probably. So
yeah, we'll talk about a spooky thing in December. Yeah. So,
no, it's still November, I think.
Yeah, no, but I was talking about It for scary.
Oh, well, you know what? I can actually sum up It really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do It, and then if we have any time left, we'll do Five Nights at Freddy's. It, I thought it was a excellent horror movie. It definitely was one of those movies that resonated with me, and the reason I wanted to mash it up with Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is I can't remember when I watched a movie that stayed with me as long as those 2 movies have this year specifically. So I thought about it all the time. The soundtrack with Guardians 2 has followed me throughout the summer, as well as just scenes from it. Some of the scenes and themes have both kind of followed me, and it was one of those things where it was like a week or 2 later and I was still thinking about it and wanted to talk about it. I don't remember the last time a movie happened. The only bad part of that movie was the music got really silly.
Yeah, the sound engineering in that was just like, oh, hey, let's just have a loud noise just bang at the screen every time something scary is going to happen. You're like, I feel like they don't understand that sometimes silence is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest issue with that, and I'm sure it's kind of, well, I always have stupid, controversial things to say, is I love it. I think that the suspense was good. It was really well done. There was a lot of effort and passion put behind it. I don't think Bill Skarsgård's It was very good. I think that he was kind of the weak link in that. Had they done a little bit better job with him, because if you read the books, basically he's supposed to be kind of a very friendly, unassuming clown, and they were just like, no, it needs to be dark and scary for a clown. And you're like, but he's a goofy looking clown, so I can't take him seriously. And that voice that he's doing is just, I'm not a fan of Bill Skarsgård, apparently. But
yeah, that's fair.
Yep,
that's fair. Yeah, and I mean, I know people are always like, oh, what Tim Curry's It was so great. We're going back and we're watching the original miniseries.
Yeah. It's not that good.
It's terrible. I mean, the reason that Tim Curry stands out is because everything else in that literally fucking sucks dick. So
yeah, even the adult actors are just terrible. Yeah. The dialogue is kind of crappy. That's one thing about the new one, is I think that they nailed a lot of the dialogue. The script in that thing is pretty well done. Yeah. And there was that whole comment about nobody floats in the very first one. And you're like, I always thought floating was referring to people being dead and drowning in water. But the second one was like, no, we're taking it literally. People float.
Yeah. But like I said, good, excellent. If you haven't seen it, definitely recommend go check it out. And let me know, if you guys like that or Guardians 2, and it resonates with you and it sticks with you, because I think that's really cool when something piece of media like that grips you. It's like that catchy song you get stuck in your head and you're like, fuck yeah. It sticks with you. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. And if you take kind of my side of things and you're a little bit less warm on one of those 2 movies, send us a tweet or write us on Facebook.
Yeah, write us on Facebook. You'll definitely get a response that way. We could have the biggest popularity, one of the biggest fan bases in the world on Facebook. I want to know. I don't really go on Facebook, you know?
Yeah, I haven't had Facebook for like 7 years.
I have like these little like +9 notifications on my app, and it keeps like, well, to look at your messages, download the Messenger app. And I was like, no, Facebook. I will not download another app to use the same app. That's what I have you for. Stupid Facebook. So potentially I could have like 9 messages from fans trying to reach out to us on Facebook. Don't use Facebook. Just look at our page, touch it, but don't talk to us.
Yeah, either email us or send us a tweet. More likely to read it.
Okay, and then with the last couple minutes here, Five Nights at Freddy's. I just got the Freddy files. I want to pick that up at the bookstore yesterday. I'm going to read through that, and it kind of delves through all the little nuances in the games and what the creators were going for what, and then as well as the fan theories that have been created with that. And I really like that idea. I really like that this game kind of exploded, and it's very simple and basic, but the lore behind it is better than the actual gameplay.
Yeah, I think that's one game franchise I haven't dumped any real time into, because the story is more rewarding than the actual gameplay. I think that whole like clicking lights on and off and checking different hallways and checking different cameras and stuff like that. I get that this was made by one guy, and that's kind of impressive, but it probably should have just been a book series.
Yeah, well, the books are pretty terrible. I've been like looking forward to and buy the books day one and download them and sit there and I'll like read through them all in a couple hours. They're not well thought out or constructed. Or there's one creepy part actually. There's one creepy part that discusses when the 2 little kids are playing in the coat room at their parents' diner, the Fazbear's Pizza, and also they look over and there's this man in a yellow suit just staring at them, and they're like kind of like they're like go back to playing, and he just like starts walking towards them very slowly. Like that part of the book genuinely like freaked me out, and I was like, ugh, I had to like put it down and walk away for a bit. Other than that, like 500 pages, one good moment.
Yeah, that's not a good ratio.
No, not at all. So, like, I think that's neat. And then it does, I think we've talked about this before. I don't know if it was on this podcast or just even talking in, like, one of our, like, bitchy rants that we have when we get drunk or something. What if they made a movie that used the 360, because, you know, you can do that now. You can, like, take a film and it's, like, 360 environment. You film a movie and it was something like a Blair Witch, where these kids are out in the woods and they're going to do something, but you can then move your head around like with VR. So the first VR movie should be something along those lines where you look over and all of a sudden you see this like young boy standing in the trees or something. And like you don't really get to control, like your character just walks along with the rest of the characters, but you can like look around at stuff. And there should be more movie and more storytelling on the peripherals and up in the air and on the ground than is being told by the characters. How cool of an experience would that be?
I would think that that's gonna be kind of where they go. I just know that we're so far out in the virtual reality realm. Like, unfortunately, the best thing we have for virtual reality right now is video games, and they're even struggling to make those kind of interesting. I haven't heard of a killer app, but that would be one of those things where if one person does it and successful, I can see it blowing up to a whole new genre. And I don't like, it would probably be very like intensive and time intensive, but they're starting to do that a little bit more. I know what we just talked about actually has a Google Glasses trailer where like it will kind of take you, or it will be like the It experience, and you'll be walking down the road and you'll see the little boat going into it, and like you can look down, there's the clown, and I'll be like talking to you. So
that's fun.
Yeah.
And then my other idea, I don't know if I want to get into filmmaking, but I keep coming up with movies, is you make a documentary about, it's a movie about a documentary crew that's going to go to a high school that's going to go talk to a student. And the student is like kind of the Ferris Bueller, he's super cool, and like people like feel better just for knowing him. And the end of the documentary turns out that Ferris Bueller never exists, but just the fact like the school creates Ferris Bueller to make everyone else a better person. And I think you can make a very interesting commentary and a narrative about an like imaginary character. that makes everyone better. So like the cool kid in school, maybe you're getting picked on or you're a nerd or you're down on your luck, but the cool kid like drops a invite in your locker to go to his party this weekend, and all of a sudden you feel better about yourself.
I think that you could go really hardcore with that, and that would be that'd be a really neat idea.
Yeah, so all the kids are like, oh man, Ferris, like, he was the captain of the hockey team, floor hockey team, and he was sick one day, and I got to take over, and it was great, and everyone was like, oh yeah, great, and I scored this game-winning goal, and man, it was like the best day of my life. And then it turns out like all the teachers are like, oh, I don't know where Ferris is today, and they're very catty and coy because they know this character doesn't exist. They've invented it to make the school a better place.
Yeah, it's not bad.
All right, quitting our jobs, becoming filmmakers.
I've heard a lot worse movie ideas out there, so I say run with it.
It's like an elevator pitch, except for the shitty elevator at work that doesn't work sometimes for me. Like I'll get in and I'll press, I'm like, main floor, and then the door just opens up, and I'm like, main floor, and I'm on the 3rd floor, and I'm like, go down and shut doors, and it just stays open, and I'm like, and then it's like, and then the door will like stammer close, and I'm like, am I gonna die? And then it'll go down, and then the 2nd floor will open, and I'm like, main floor, and I'm like, why is this so challenging? Maybe I should tell a maintenance person about it.
Yeah, especially elevators, because you're like, I know that they have safety features built in and they won't fall, but I could just imagine being trapped in an elevator for like 8 hours, and I think it would just be awful.
All right, so elevators, movie pitches, Five Nights at Freddy's, and best intro ever.
We definitely hit a lot of topics.
Let's get into this motherfucking game.
Now two can play the games of the Super NES Super Scope, Yoshi Safari and Metal Combat Falcon's Revenge. So to prepare yourself, you might want to consider some basic training exercises.
Welcome to the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. We can be contacted on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast. Email us at podtendo@gmail.com, or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Podtendo. I'm your co-host, Hoarder Mick. I don't know, maybe we'll try that for a month, see how that works. Hoarder Mick. And I'm joined every episode by my co-host.
I'm probably still Chancellor Tyson, because I can't think of a better name off the top of my head.
Yeah, the hoarder really, I was looking at all the shit I have, and I was like, I'm a hoarder.
I could be opinionated Tyson, because I am very opinionated.
Awesome. So, welcome to the show. I feel like that is getting catchy. The fact that we've done so many episodes, and I've said it so often, and when I go back and listen, I'm like, our little intro, I'm like, I wonder if people listen to that. And they're like, oh, it's kind of fun and catchy that they say the same thing at the beginning of every episode. I don't know. Is it?
I don't know, I enjoy listening to it, because it's now just less, when you first started doing it, is more reading it, and now it's more of just this off the top of your head. You probably don't even need the script.
I think I don't know if I could. Next time I'm going to try and do it without script and see how I do. So, something to look forward to in the next episode. It's fun. Today's game is Yoshi's Safari. It's a good one, guys. Well, it's a game. Let's put it that way. The release date was July 14th, 1993. That's a good date, guys. It really is. I'm pretty excited to talk about that one. How Long to Beat has this game at 2 hours. The price at retail. I could not find this information anywhere. If anyone knows how much Yoshi Safari, a Super Scope, cost, please contact me. I couldn't find anything about Super Scope, kind of what it cost when it was released. I would imagine it had to be fairly affordable, probably close to a game, maybe if a game was $60, maybe it was $70 for the Super Scope and the game kind of tie-in, because I know we had one as kids, and I can't see our parents spending more than $100 on a piece of hardware in a game. So
yeah, especially since I think it came with one game, maybe. So
yeah,
I'm not sure even how we came into possession of it, because we still have the box and everything.
Is it still in there?
Yeah, I think so.
Fun. For a working inbox gun and 2 games on eBay, it would set you back $450. So, just saying.
Holy moly.
They're also somewhat available for about $30 to $80. And if we didn't have it, I was like, I feel like $30 to have a broken, even if it's broken, just a piece of nostalgia, like from my childhood in my house, would be pretty cool, you know?
Yeah. And you could just even dress it up like the de-evolution gun from the terrible Mario movie.
It was great. It was great. And the eShop price. This doesn't exist on any virtual consoles, which kind of makes sense. Although, I feel like they did have a console that had kind of like a controller that was kind of like a gun that you could point at the screen. And considering this game was just basically a game that had a big like bazooka on your shoulder that had like 2 buttons. Probably could have done something with the Wii or Wii U, I'm saying.
Or even the 3DS with the touchscreen. Like,
yeah,
and the stylist.
Well, they have an accelerometer. Like, you could just sit there and say, like, screen there, and you can actually, like, shift around. Because on Ocarina of Time, you can fire the crossbow that way. So, just saying, Nintendo. Super Scope, great piece of hardware, fun games. Should have re-released it with the Wii or Wii U. You fucked up. Well, I guess they could do it with the Switch, but why didn't you do that? Yeah. Stupid.
Probably has to do with Miyamoto's disliking of it.
I suppose, yeah.
Because we did discuss that last time.
Yeah. Disliked what? Oh, that's right. He did say it was kind of a weaker game.
Yeah. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. It's kind of fun though. I mean, if you put all the games in one collection and sold it on the Wii, I'm sure they would have put out 3 per store. People would have bought them and then sold them for ridiculous prices on Kijiji and eBay. So, come on, scalpers need to make a living too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's get into the development details of this game/hardware. I guess if anyone is uninitiated, Yoshi Safari is a game that involves something called a Super Scope. We've kind of touched on it a little bit. A Super Scope is a big bazooka-looking thing that sits on your shoulder. There's a little infrared box that you put on top of your CRTC TV, and you kind of shoot. It's kind of the Super Nintendo's version of the Zapper, which was kind of the gun that went with the NES. Make sense?
Yep. And it also needed, I think, 6 AA batteries or something like that.
Hence why we never played it.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're releasing some new peripheral material, you better have a sweet Mario game. So Mario's newest sidekick headlined this game. I couldn't really find any information on the development of this game specifically, so let's talk about the Super Scope. It was just under 2 feet long, and it was shaped, like I said, like a bazooka. On the end of it was an infrared transmitter lens, approximately 1 inch in diameter, which picks up light from a TV. The sight mount is shaped like a wide, very shallow U, about 5 inches long. The sight is designed so that it will correspond to a distance of 3 meters. So if you sat about 3 meters, 10 feet away, it would, looking through the scope, would show you kind of on the screen where you're shooting. Then I wrote down a bunch of other technical things. We don't need to know about that. All the Super Scope games made by Nintendo have software resets to the game's main title. This is accomplished by pausing the game, then holding the cursor and firing the button twice. The Super Scope makes the scanning process used in cathode ray tube monitors, as CRT were the only affordable TV monitors until the late 1990s. So that means, whatever that meant was, plasma and LED TVs won't work with the Super Scope.
Yeah, they don't.
Because the Super Scope
have the same technology.
Same technology. I don't know why we were that awkward talking.
Saying the same thing at the same time.
In short, the screen is drawn by scanning electron beams that travel horizontally across each line on the screen, top to bottom. A fast photodial will be seen in the particle area of the screen, illuminated only briefly at that point of the screen, while the human eye will see a consistent image due to the persistence of vision. Oh, have you heard about that? That's how TVs used to work?
No.
Okay, so apparently there was a little photon gun that used to sit in old TVs, and when it turned on, it would shoot an image like line by line across the TV in a very fast succession, and the human eye, when you looked at it, it looked like an image, and it would be moving. But it like line by line on the TV, so when you looked at kind of like the old pixels and stuff on those old TVs we used to have in like the 80s and 90s, each of those lines was kind of almost like printed out like a printer, and it was just done in succession.
Oh, so just done like super fast by that little tube or that little tube gun in the back.
Yeah, and I've always heard that, and I thought that was so fucked up. And I've like watched videos, and like they'll break it down, and like plasma TVs and LEDs, they just have the image all at once, which is why TV looks better nowadays. Like if you ever go and watch like an old like Stanley Cup Finals game or a basketball game, you're like, man, this looks shitty, because the technology was like really, really, really behind.
Still
and
really neat
HD
that they actually
remakes
figured
of
out.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
so this game understands that, and based on what line you're looking at or shooting at the screen, it will then talk to the game, and it will say where you're aiming.
Huh. Fascinating.
So it seems like the most like, yeah. So the Super Scope takes advantage of the fairly simple manner. It simply inputs a 0 signal when it sees the television raster scan, and a 1 signal when it does not. So it's off if it doesn't, it's on if it does. Inside the console, the signal is delivered to the PPU, which notes which screen pixel is the output at the moment the signal transfers from 1 to 0. Man, that seems very complicated. I'm glad I didn't invent this thing.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm glad I live in a modern age where things are more technologically advanced, but yet somehow simpler.
The Super Scope ignores red light, as do many guns of this type, because red phosphorus have a much slower rate of decay than the green and blue. Since the Super Scope depends on the short persistence and scan patterns of the CRT pixels, it will not function on modern-day displays. There were 12 games released for this hardware. It was painted black, appears in the Super Mario Bros. Under the name Devo Gun. It also is a pickup in Super Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube. So, there you go. It's kind of cool. Other games, I don't think we'll ever play another Super Scope game.
Yeah, and with good reason. There's not very many good games for this. Like, even the 6 little mini games that it came with kind of suck. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I understand why Nintendo didn't put it. But damn it, I played this as a kid. I want to play more Yoshi Safari.
Brings back good memories.
Good memories indeed. So onto the controls of this game. So the Super Scope, you can fire, shoots at the screen. Cursor makes Yoshi's jump during boss battles, or uses items. Pause, pauses the game. While the game is paused, holding the cursor and repeatedly pressing fire twice resets the game back to the main screen. When selecting 2-player mode and plugging in a Super Nintendo controller in the first slot, the player with the controller can move Yoshi, allowing him to move side to side and duck. The player using the Super Scope will be able to shoot only enemies. They will not be able to make Yoshi jump by pressing the cursor in this mode. Sounds pretty exciting. Duck. Oh, and you can actually reduce Yoshi's speed during a course. So if you wanted to go really slow and, use up that whole 6-minute time limit you get, you could do that.
I actually remember having to, while you were shooting, having to play as Yoshi, and you always get mad because you'd shoot Yoshi in the back of the head. He turns around and gets really upset, Mario, and you're like, yeah, Mario's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, I could see that being a thing of contention where one of us just intentionally shoots Yoshi and upset the other one as a child.
That
We're
definitely
really
did
cool
happen.
kids.
Yeah,
We're really cool kids. And cruel kids, too. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so we've definitely played this game before. Before we talk into this game in detail and get into the nitty-gritties of levels and what's going on, let's get into our patented Wayback Machine. We're going back to July 14th, 1993. Like I said, it's good times, guys. It's a good times. So, we're in our time machine. We're going back to this time. Find out what was going on. Maybe get those juices flowing. Favorite show. So instead of just talking about The Simpsons and saying that's our favorite show, I'm going to try and convince Tyson that he has a new favorite show. So on The Simpsons, the episode that was just shown was Krusty Gets Cancelled. Gabbo! 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 Comes to town and takes Krusty off the air. So Bart and Lisa have to put together a star-studded cast to bring back and get into the good graces of popular television. Guests starring Johnny Carson, Hugh Hefner, Bette Midler, Barry White, Luke Perry, Elizabeth Taylor, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So it's kind of fun, right?
Awesome cast.
Awesome cast. Or we could watch X-Men, the TV series, Season 1, Episode 13, The Final Decision. The X-Men and Magneto team up to stop Master Mold from replacing Senator Kelly's brain with a computer, and engages in an all-out battle against a score of Sentinels. Kelly calls off the anti-mutant campaign, and Beast is finally freed from prison. So you have a choice. Those two shows. What are you picking?
Oh man, that's a great episode because it's. I do really like the Simpson episode, but it was probably too filled with a lot of adult references that I just didn't get. Like I didn't know who Bette Midler was or Hugh Hefner. I have no idea when I was a dumb kid. So I probably would have picked X-Men. Just because whenever they teamed up with Magneto, it was always really cool because he is the big bad in that series, basically, besides a few others. But
I meant to go back and watch this episode before doing this. I didn't.
It's also neat to have Beast finally freed from... because he was in it like the whole first season.
That's it. The first episode, after 5 minutes, he's in prison, and he's just always in prison. So
yeah, just reading a book.
Also, it was a good marker because we'd go back and watch them out of order a lot, and you could tell which episode was from what season based on what Beast was doing. So, yeah, it was nice as a kid to kind of have those things. All right, other things we could be watching on TV, and this is where I think I've made one of the greatest mistakes in this podcast history. So we might have to just scrap the first 40 episodes and redo them all. Are you ready for this? So TV, we've got X-Files, Frasier, Boy Meets World, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were the top shows in 1993. But if we look at the cartoons, Animaniacs, Batman the Animated Series, Rocko's Modern Life, Rugrats, Sonic the Hedgehog, Tasmania, Sonic, or The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Tales from the Crypt Keeper, Exo Squad, and Pirates of Darkwater. So apparently, to get the nostalgia juices flowing, I should have been talking about cartoons, not adult shows.
Yeah, this is this is why TV used to be good, because almost every single show that you mentioned, I could go back and watch the entire series. I mean, I'm sure there was terrible episodes and all of it, but man, this is a stacked lineup. It's one of those things where I remember a few episodes ago we were like, oh, if we could travel back to any date, this is the date to travel back to.
Yeah, probably pretty close. This is definitely like a top 3 date to go back to. All right. Now, because these movies are so great, we've recorded them all. We've recorded all these shows, and we're selling them on pirated DVDs to people in the future. And we're going to send that money back in time in the Wayback Machine so our kid selves can go to the movies. There we go. I figured out a way for us to go to the movies.
Nice.
We can go watch Rookie of the Year, Weekend at Bernie's 2 on July 11th. And then Jurassic Park came out. On June 11th, Jurassic Park came out. So that was probably a really big deal.
Yeah. Highest grossing movie when it came out.
Yeah, so I'm guessing a month later, July 13th, you're probably still watching Jurassic Park. Because you're like, oh my god, there's dinosaurs. But if we wait for the weekend afterwards, so it came out on the 13th, 3 days later on the Friday, you could watch Free Willy and Hocus Pocus?
Why have this come out in the middle of summer?
Yeah, that's my point exactly. I was like, July 14th. I was like, why the fuck would... Like, it's not a summer blockbuster. It's a stupid... Maybe they wanted it so it would be on DVD or, like, a VHS and rentable by October, maybe? Like Halloween? That's actually probably what it was.
Probably. That makes sense.
So, yeah, but I was always like, it just seems like a stupid time to release. I don't know. Just me. That's just me. Probably it was a Disney movie. I think it was Disney, and they wanted to make it cute and fun, so I imagine it was for the VHS release on Halloween.
Yeah, I think they were probably banking on making those VHS sales.
Yeah. Games that were released, because we've got all this pirated money coming back in time in this time machine, we're loaded. We could go get Doom, Myst. We'd have to buy like a really like cool computer to play Myst, but we could do it. The Legend of Zelda, A Link's Awakening, Secret of Mana, Kirby's Adventure, Star Fox, Super Mario All-Stars, and Mega Man X. So,
man, this
pretty
is
pretty good year. And all we have to do now is listen to our top 3 songs from the Billboard charts while we're playing Doom and watching Hocus Pocus for some reason. We're like, man, Sarah Jessica Parker's hot. Hopefully she marries Ferris Bueller.
And has
they don't
beautiful
fucking
kids.
Suck ass. Yeah, they don't fucking suck ass. I hate those guys. The number 3 song, according to the Billboard charts, was Freak Me by...
No idea what song that is.
Yep. But the number 2 song is That's the Way Love Goes by Janet Jackson.
I still don't know any Janet Jackson songs.
But if you listen to these 2 episodes, you'll know at least 30 seconds of 2 songs combined. So that's pretty exciting. And the number 1 song this week, according to the Billboard charts, was Weak by
Nothing.
Yep. I feel like I didn't really listen to music at this point. Or maybe I did. Maybe I know these songs, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that song.
I think the TV and movies and video games were just too good that music just took a back burner and was like, you know what? I will get my music from watching TV and watching movies and playing video games because they have better music.
Very true. So, now that our juices are flowing, we're back in time, we're like, I remember this. This was kind of like an awkward period where we had moved out of our first house, and my parents had bought a different house. They had bought the house at the lake, and we were living in the townhouses. So I just remember lots of time spent in, like, the playground behind our house, and, yeah, like, talking to kids. So, like, this is definitely kind of that area. Because I remember when Jurassic Park came out, it was, like, a big deal. Mom and Dad were like, we're not taking you there. You're a fucking stupid scaredy cat. You'll be so terrified.
And
Instead, we'll sit at home and we'll watch Maximum Overdrive. Because that was definitely a movie we watched when we lived there.
I was too young. I don't remember any of this.
Yeah, I was like, this is even when I was a kid, I was like, this is dumb. Speaking of Stephen King. So, first memories. I recall having a Super Scope and owning this game, but I, again, don't know how I got it. I'm guessing, based on the time, maybe it was a birthday present? Maybe it was an Xmas gift? So maybe we didn't have it when it first came out. Maybe we got it for my birthday when we first moved out to the lake, because Mom and Dad were like, oh, these poor kids, like, live in the middle of nowhere now. We better get them a sweet toy. So maybe that's what happened?
Could be. I just remember having it. I don't remember actually getting it.
Were we at the pool? Did I get this as a gift at the pool in Sparwood?
That definitely has some bells ringing, so maybe.
Right? Yeah, because, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I remember sitting in that cafeteria eating fucking sweet soft serve ice cream, and I think that's where we got that. Hey, Our time machine worked.
Yeah, not bad. Well done, Time Machine.
Nice. Nice. I remember playing through the first couple levels, never got very far. Then one playthrough, I either completed the first half of the game and Mom had to complete the second half of the game, or maybe Mom just sat there and beat the whole game. And I remember thinking, I was like, that's pretty cool, you know? I have a pretty cool mom for her to just sit and she's like, I'm going to beat this game with my kids today.
Yeah, when she actually used to sit down and play video games, I remember she would always get us through, like, the hard stuff. She would get stuck on, like, little things, like trying to work her way out of a ghost house, and we would just beat it by pure trial and error. But I'm 90% sure Mom was just the superior gamer in our household for a few years.
Well, maybe she'll have to come on our Drunken Christmas cast this year.
We might have to do that.
Nice. The Super Scope almost took as long to set up, and it took way too many batteries. So I think more than often I just kind of used to play it as a bazooka, and like it was more of a play accessory than actual video game accessory. And then do we still have it? So the fact you think we still have it, pretty cool.
I'm 90% sure we still have this thing.
Yeah.
I remember it's like still in the hard foam and in the box and everything. Because it's actually like load it into the box, you have to pop off the scope. Because Nintendo having the forethought, some people want to aim on the right side, some people want to aim on the left, and you could literally slide it off, switch sides. So that was pretty cool.
Also, the 3-foot or the 10-foot rule makes a lot of sense. But remember how small TVs were back in the day? You had to stand 10 feet away and aim a gun. Like that's like riding a horse while having a car driving at you and trying to hit a target while firing a gun or something like that. So
yeah,
I think is that a Back to the Future quote?
Could be. I haven't watched that movie in a few years.
Oh no, I think that's a Star Trek, a J.J. Abrams Star Trek. Because they're trying to like beam aboard a moving starship, and Scotty says that's like riding a horse while a car drives towards you with a target on it and then trying to hit it or something. Jim's like, well, of course you can do this.
Well, you got to do it now.
Yeah, nice. Now that are kind of any other first memories of this game?
No, not really. I just remember always because we had rechargeable batteries because batteries were expensive back in the day. And we'd only have 4 rechargeable batteries, so we'd charge up those 4, and then there was the scramble for the other 2, and trying many times to get it set up was just a hassle, so we ended up just only playing it a couple times. But I do remember this game being beaten. I don't know if I was part of that or watching somebody, but I probably watched somebody beat it and not actually beat it myself when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think I beat the first half, and then I was scared because the second part was kind of scary looking or dark. And I'm pretty sure Mom stepped in. And I always thought, I was like, that's really impressive that you could beat this game without playing through the first. Because the first half is training for the second half. So,
yeah, true.
Or maybe it's just really simple, and I'm just really maybe I should just not been a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
I couldn't even beat Super Mario World back in the day, so I obviously wasn't. I mean, I guess I was 5, so maybe give me some credit.
Yeah, and I'd be 3,
but,
so leave me alone.
Yeah. With that out of the way, we're going to get into this game's story. Yeah, that's a great story. Great story. But also raises a lot of questions that I'll bring up later. Game. I'm watching you. So on to the level notes. We forgot to mention in the last podcast, we mentioned it on 2 ago. The idea is you play the games with us. So when the games are released, you maybe pick up the game, you play it for a couple hours, you listen to the level notes, and we help you through the game. We maybe add to the experience. So the idea is, maybe I should add it to the beginning intro too.
Yeah, maybe the beginning spiel or that first like little speech.
Yeah, maybe that's what I... Anyway, so the idea with these level notes is we talk about them kind of briefly to add to your experience. It's not just about our experience. We're trying to make your experience better. Although we do spoil stuff, so I guess maybe it's not the best approach, but whatever.
Opens
whatever.
to suggestions.
Whatever. All right, so you start by adjusting the super scope. Pretty cool. And choosing 1 or 2 player mode, so... Game's already off to a rockin' start. The first half is called Light World. World 1 is the Donut Plains. It's a very simple intro level. There's a mini-boss, which is the Hammer Brother, and then we fight Lemmy, or whichever the one with the colored mohawk is. He's in a mech suit that has kind of his face on it. You shoot his the projectiles coming at you, his head and arms to deal damage, and for beating him, you get the red gem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty exciting. I guess we should mention that the gameplay, it's an on-the-rail shooter, so you're always moving forward. Basically, all you can do is just shoot. So it's kind of like an arcade game, for lack of a better term. So
yeah, and you're going to want to set your super scope to turbo, because pressing the fire button for every single shot be darn near impossible to beat this game with that. So
yeah, and as you play, you get fire flowers, which increase how many shots you can take before your gun needs to recharge, as well as mushrooms, which increases your health as well as can re-increase it once you take damage. So I think those are the big... Oh, and you can also get stars, which makes you invincible, so Yoshi can just kind of run through stuff. You do play as Mario riding on Yoshi's back, so that's why it's a Mario game, because you're Mario, right?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. I mean, I just assume people just are like, oh yeah, Yoshi, Mario, okay, same thing. Good job, guys. World 2 is the Mushroom Mud Pit. I was trying to, based on what they looked like, come up with names for them. Some of them, not so great. This area looks very dirty. I feel there's a couple more enemies here, a lot more. There's midpoint gates that if you shoot, they change if you want to go left or right. I don't really know if there's a benefit to going left or right.
Yeah, and you never really replay to just the levels, once you've beat it, and or you select it on the overworld, you can't really go back and replay it. So I don't know if maybe there's just a shortcut. I always just thought there were shortcuts as a kid, but sometimes it felt like you would swing a gate and then there would be a mini boss, and you're like, man, I should have went the other way, so to avoid this jerk.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, well, sometimes there was little strips of, I don't know, lava or energy on the ground, and if you went over them, Yoshi would take damage. So there was little jump prompts.
Yep.
Those come up more and more. So maybe it was a shortcut and less enemies or something. I don't know. Don't know. The boss of World 2 was Ludwig in a giant turtleneck. So his kind of big long neck moves around. You shoot his head. Then his second phase, he kind of goes into the body, and it's a mech fight very similar to the first one. He opens up his little mouth and you shoot it, and you get the purple gem. I will just say I love the bosses. I'm a big fan of the Koopa Kids, or the Koopalings. I thought they were great in Mario 3, Super Mario World. They were one of my favorite parts of those games. And so the fact that they were in this game definitely kind of brings that nostalgia and my enjoyment of this game, because their suits are so well designed. They're always creative, and fighting them is definitely a highlight. So the fact they didn't bring this game back just for the artwork and the way these characters kind of interact with you, I think it's kind of a shame.
Yeah, and these are some of the coolest kind of boss designs on, I would say, even almost any of the Super Nintendo games or any Mario games in general. So it's kind of a shame that they've just been kind of relegated to this little lost little gem, but it's definitely worth replaying, and it was one of the main reasons why I suggested we replay it, just because I remember the bosses being so awesome and cool.
Nice. So from here we go to the pipe maze. It's not really a maze, you just kind of go forward, obviously. Similar to the first couple areas, there's jumping once in a while. There's a boomerang bro here, so another little bit boss. Not super tough yet, though. And then the boss of this area is, hey, it's a pipe maze. Wendy is in a pipe, just like she is in Super Mario World, which I thought was actually kind of neat. She comes out of them. There's a little anvil that kind of flies above her. When the anvil lines up with Wendy, shoot it, drops on her head 3 times, and it's over. Yay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Wendy kind of gets screwed here because she's like the only boss that doesn't really get a cool mech suit. Especially,
we don't want a girl driving.
I guess so, but it's just like
and she's made in Japan, so she's Asian. An Asian woman driving? Come on.
Now you're just being sexist.
And
a little racist.
And racist. Come on. I was supposed to be a joke. I don't know. Well, it probably played fine because everyone's like, "You're so funny, Mick. You're so funny." Yeah, no, definitely a shortcoming. Where I was like, they couldn't have come up with a more inventive way of her dying than just pipes. So, poor Wendy. I also don't really understand how pipes work. Like, there's 4 pipes. She goes down one. Does she, like, scuttle underneath them? Or is it like she goes down the pipe and all of a sudden there's, like, an exit on the other side and it's just a random pipe? Like, does she control the pipes?
I think maybe they're all, like, linked together. Like, there must just be, like, a 4-way splitter underneath. And she can kind of choose which ones to pop up. This is also one of the longer kind of boss battles because you have to specifically wait for like the anvil with wings to get over toward the one that she's under. So
yeah, fair. So we move on to World 4, Cheap Beach. I feel like you go a lot faster here. At least kind of it feels that way. I feel like if you go too, like if the second controller goes towards the beach, you can actually fall into the water. At the end of the first beach, you end up actually dropping off the edge, or you end up underwater. There's a mini boss, which is a giant bag that throws octopies at you. Don't understand the reference. It's not really tough. It's just kind of unnecessary, you know?
Yep.
The boss of this area is a giant spinning wheel mech here. You destroy the outer shell, and you reveal Larry sitting in the middle. Just all-out attack Larry's face, and you get the white gem.
Yeah.
Off to World 5. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say one of the like easier bosses to beat, like not difficult.
But well, there's a couple, like the first 3. Was it?
Yeah.
Lemmy, Ludwig, and Larry are all pretty lame. Like you can just kind of aim at the. It's weird because the thing that shoots at you is also its weak point. So just shoot at it, you destroy the projectile, and you damage it. Yeah. So
not too bad.
Interesting. Yeah. Off to World 5, which is Ice Cream Mountain. I just made up that name. It sounded delicious. Bullet bills, spikes, Ember bombs. Oh my! So a little bit more variety in the enemies right here. If you've got good aim, this game is extremely easy. That's just kind of like this game in general. There is a mandatory jump or 2 here. If you miss a jump and you fall off the edge, Lakitu will save you. Cost coins. You get coins by defeating enemies. Typically, you have like 21 coins. So you have like 7 failed jumps before you lose a life.
Yeah, and
so, very, very manageable.
Very forgiving. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. The mini boss here was the big hammer bro. Bigger enemies mean bigger targets. Let's remember that. Then we get to fight the cutest boss in the game. It's a frog with a hat and shoulders on his cannons. And I love the art style here. I'm pretty sure I used to play this, pause the game, and then like try to draw it. For some reason, it just... I don't know. It just stands out. And like this to me, when I think Super Nintendo and I think cute childhood things, I think like this boss specifically. So, good job, Nintendo.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like each of these bosses are just so imaginative and so different looking. Like they're not all in just generic like mechs like the first one. They're all in like different styles or take different like they're just so creative. I just want to give props to the art director on this. It's just so good.
Destroy the shoulder cannons. Morton comes out, shoot him. You get the green gem. Off to World 6, Vanilla Bridge. There's a lot of ground-based enemies here. A couple mandatory jump sections. The boss is a giant squid. So you destroy its little tentacles on its side. There's 4 of the 8. And then the next 4 are kind of based on the bottom. So he jumps out of the water. You have to shoot them. Again, if you have like basic shooting mechanics down, it's pretty simple. It's probably simpler than like Link's crossbow training. So if anyone's played that game more recently and you're like, oh, that game was super simple, it's probably around like that level of difficulty. So you should be able to beat it in maybe a couple hours.
Yep. And it's nice that like your actual shots are these big old like blue balls that just destroy everything that like they touch in like almost in like one hit. So pretty manageable. With
and
turbo.
I think as long as you have patience and you just don't always hold the button down, it's pretty easy. I think when I struggled as a kid, I would just like always hold the button down and you like run out of firepower, and then enemies would start attacking me and I would have no firepower because I was stupid and just held the button down. So
yeah.
Oh, kids.
Fire.
Kids. Iggy was in the octopus or the squid here, and we get a round silver/white gem. Off-World 7, the Flying Fortress. Had kind of a Greek Rome theme going on in this area in the background. There's no new enemies. You get lots of time to jump. I think it'd be hard to struggle at this point. It'll, like, you hit the platform and it says, jump! And you have to hit the jump button at some point there. So, again, shouldn't be super difficult as long as you can kind of be coordinated. The boss, you fall off the edge and a big balloon shows up and starts shooting at you. You attack it, Roy pops out, and then you destroy it. It's weird because I'm pretty sure his second form is his head just gets angry and puts more guns on it. And again, we're trying to hit the guns. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's
kind of counterintuitive. I don't know.
Not that hard, but basically it just always looks like he gets like acne or something.
So now that we've beat the first 7 levels, we take the gems to the king, and he tells us that his son, Prince Pine, went to Dark Realm to get the other gems. So, head over to the little pipe, jump in the pipe. I guess if you've ever played Super Mario 3D World, you know that when you jump in a pipe, you kind of like head face first, and you just like slide along. So I guess that would answer the question with Wendy. So she must go down, and then as she's like, she can pick which tube to come up, right? So there's kind of like little branching pathways. So it looks like a menorah or something underground. Yeah, but we're off to Dark World. Yeah, Dark World. Level 8, Rock Tunnel. There's a cool Fire Snake mini-boss here. We do see Monty Moles for the first time, and there's mandatory jumping over lava. The boss here is Magikoopa. He disappears and reappears. Guess when you have to shoot him. Did you guess? Do you think you have to guess when he appears or reappears?
Well, I guess probably when he definitely disappears.
You're right. You picked... I was doing like a Dora the Explorer thing there.
Oh.
Can you guess? Should you shoot the guy when he's here or not here?
Yeah, pretty hard
That's
decision.
right. You're so smart.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dora. Trying to be more kid-friendly here on Podtendo.
Yeah, and then the actual Fire Snake mini-boss was actually one of the harder bosses because as you shoot him, he kind of shrinks. And then you're just chasing around this little fire thing that is rocking fast. So, if you can get past him,
when you
can
defeat
basically beat this game.
Because the target becomes smaller, and smaller targets are harder. So what does Magikoopa happen after you destroy his first form? He gets bigger. Because bigger targets are definitely harder to hit. Stupid game.
Yeah.
Level 9.
I don't get it.
Level 9, we're off to the Ghost House. There are boos here. You can only deal damage to them and take damage when their faces aren't covered. There is a basement section here with some jumps. The mini-boss is a Lakitu, which definitely is the worst. Like him and the fire boss, probably the 2 worst enemies. Just because they fly around and they're very sporadic, and they're kind of small targets. Again, small targets are better.
Yes, and
Same
if you
game.
shoot where he was and not where he's going, it's like that last guy in Space Invaders. You gotta shoot where he's going, not where he was.
Absolutely. Why don't we say that anymore? It was like our catchphrase. It's sad.
Absolutely.
The boss of this area was the Big Boo. There's chunks of walls that fly at you. The second phase, there's 3 little blues, and you have to shoot the one whose mouth is open. So it's kind of a guessing. They spin around. It's like kind of a thing, but nothing really major. You get a purple gem. Yay. Level 10. We're back at the Flying Destroyed Castle. Ooh. Basically, it's just a palette swap of the first Destroyed Castle. The colors are a little different. There's a mini boss that's a Hammer Bro. And you fight a Charging Chuck. I really like their names. I kind of feel like I came up with that as a kid. Like I called them Charging Chucks, and then they just called Charging Chucks. So I was like, good for me. Good for me for being creative.
Yep. He also throws big old bombs at you, which
Yeah.
would have been better if it was footballs, but bombs do more damage, so I'll let it slide.
Or like baseballs or something. It's not like they do like more damage when they explode. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I was like, aren't you like a sporty guy? Why do you got bombs?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? From here, we go to level 11, which is Platform Beach. There's lots of speed boosters that zip you along, and the one interesting thing is sometimes you hit speed boosters around a corner, and Yoshi will actually kind of like awkwardly turn to the side or look behind him, and enemies will keep coming at you. So it's kind of like fun that they play around with that mode 7 and change the perspective a little bit here, but nothing like, you know?
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy, but it's kind of neat that they actually only on the second to last level do they finally start messing around with like running sideways and stuff.
Yeah. The boss here is a giant turtle. So there's a turret that kind of comes out of his back controlled by smaller turtles. It's absolutely insane. You just shoot the turtle. Shouldn't be too hard. The second phase, he opens up his back and reveals a wall of guns. Again, you have to shoot his guns. Their boss idea is stupid. Like,
Yeah, especially since
our weakness is if you...
Weakness is exactly what you need to not take damage.
Yeah, and by firing them, you negate the projectiles. So sometimes I'm like, the boss design here, like, they're cute and they work, but from a functionality point of view, they're awful.
Yeah, could be improved.
Could be improved a lot. But we beat all the levels, and we're like, yay! And all of a sudden, the clouds part, and they reveal the final area. Bowser's Castle. Ooh. There's a whole 8-minute time limit here. Since each other levels had like a 3 to 5 minute limit, this must be a really long section. It seems like there are lots of enemies in this area. We see Mecha Koopas for the first time. You just shoot them and stun them. Then you can run them over. We fall into the basement and we end up in a little mini boss rush. We fight the Hammer Bros, Boomerang Bows, Lakatos, and finally, Tyson's favorite, the Blue Flame Snake.
Yes.
I think there's usually like an item refill in between each of the bosses.
Yeah, and they're like a couple times you get a star, and basically you can just roll through the next couple section because the stars seem to last a really long time in this. But
yeah, very true. And into the final area, the third basement, where we fight Mecha Bowser. He's covered in armor, and he looks kind of like Jason X.
Yeah, a little bit.
He has gun for arms, so guess where we have to shoot him? In his arms. Once his armor is destroyed, we battle regular Bowser. You hit his hands again, then his mouth, and for victory, you finally get a blue gem.
And when you defeat, instead of like, because you blow up usually all the other mecha hands and everything, when his one hand is no longer useful, it's wrapped in cute little bandages, and he sits down and puts up a white flag. And that's where, I swear, this game taught me that the white flag means surrender. Because every bad guy, when you defeat them, they put up a little white flag, and they're all like marked up and got defeated. So that was also really cute.
Yeah, that's fair. Now we're at the ending. So Prince Pine thanks you. He says, throw the gems in the air to restore peace to the land and merge the two worlds. The king and prince do make a weird pass at Peach, and they say, hey, next time you visit, you should bring Peach along, because like we'd like to see her. And I'm like, whoa, guys.
That's my
What's
girl.
up with that?
I should have saved
also,
you.
I also found out we're in Jewelry Land. That's why there were so many different gems. So apparently it's a very rich kingdom, and it's called Jewelry Land. I'm like, maybe that's why Mom liked this game.
What makes sense? She probably did like the whole idea of collecting jewelry.
Suck it, Mom. On to the current thoughts of this game. I really like the cute charm of this game. Some of the artwork is some of my favorite from any Mario game. I forgot about it, but once I saw it again, it really got the nostalgia juices flowing. The simple gameplay would have worked well on the Wii, just saying. They easily could have done an NES Zapper and like a Super Nintendo or like a SNES Super Scope collection or something. Just saying.
Yeah, and especially considering they do it, like the Wii had such a large virtual console like backing. It's like, why not just throw this on here?
Well, the Wii was huge for like collections. Like there was like the Metroid Prime collection, there was the Kirby collection that I have, there was they did
the
tons of
Mario
little collections.
collection. Like
Yeah, like I don't understand why they didn't do more of those. So it's weird.
yeah. The other thing is, I don't know if I mentioned this later, but before I forget it, it's after you beat each level, it kind of gives you a score.
Oh yeah.
And it's like rank 1 to 5 or whatever, and since you're the only scorer, you're always number 1. But it has Yoshi just like standing there just being like, oh, great job, and then Mario like walks out with the gun and just starts shooting him, and Yoshi clearly looks in pain and then just runs off screen, and Mario like chases after him. You're like, what is going on? Why is Mario just an abusive jerk to Yoshi? Like, he sacrifices him, he punches him in the back of the head, you shoot him in the back of the head in this game, and then you literally see his sprite shooting him and chasing him around. You're like, why does Mario hate Yoshi?
Yoshi really is like the Tyrion Lannister of this story, of the Mario story. Like, just kind of like abused, but like very useful in a sense, you know?
Yep.
So, Game of Thrones time, people. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? So what would you change with this game? I said I would like to see it as part of a Wii collection. Kind of dropped the ball there. Maybe some more variety in the past would be nice. And maybe like slightly longer levels.
Yeah, it felt like they went by super quick. Like every level should be about that 8 minutes, and that last one probably should be closer to like 15 or so. The other thing I would change would be some of the boss designs. Instead of having their weakness be the guns, maybe do like in level 2 with the purple or the like on the back of the turtle shell that is blocked by its head, is you have to kind of like wait for the head to move, and then you can hit it, and he shoots from other places. So it's like, that's a really good idea. I feel like that should have been the main way of killing guys, instead of being like or like Wendy, where there's you have to drop the anvil on its head, a la, Looney Tunes. But I feel, minus those few little tweaks, I think that this is a neat little game and needs to be kind of resurrected at some point.
Cool. So a final, are you buying it? And then we're out of here. So it's exciting. So I actually came up with this while I was watching the end of the game. So we have said before that Bowser may not be the villain. He is just helping the Goombas try and retake their land from the evil Princess Peach. But then, why go to Jewelry Land and steal all the gems, thus splitting the two worlds? Could this be where Peach is originally from? Could she be Prince Pine's brother, and the king was her father, and they used the gems and their mass wealth to fund armies and create brain control, and she actually went to the Mushroom Kingdom to take over the Mushroom people and the Goombas, and Bowser came to try and break the financial backing that Peach's army had?
It's interesting. I like to think that Peach is the bad guy because she's kind of doesn't do anything besides play the damsel in distress for a lot of games. So it's neat and especially since Mario's been such a jerk to poor Yoshi, I'm going to say Bowser's the good guy, and we've always just been looking at the wrong side of the coin.
So this is just another chapter in the poor Mushroom Kingdom War.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
That the good guys are slowly losing.
They sure are. All right, so thanks. That was our wrap on the month of Mario. Hopefully you guys like the games that we picked. I think, like, outside of maybe the Game Boy, like Super Mario World 2, The Legend of the Seven Coins, which probably will get played, hopefully, we might play it throughout the year, or we might save it to next year. I think that's kind of a good wrap on the Super Nintendo and Mario for the most part.
Yeah, that's almost every single one, I think.
We can always change it up. There's nothing set in stone. So hopefully you guys had fun. Next month you'll hear us. We're kind of getting you pumped a little bit for Christmas. So we'll be playing a couple of games off our SNES Classics, trying to keep that kind of going, as well as looking at kind of a newer title. So I'm looking forward to that one, just because I feel like our Wayback Machine, I'm really excited for like the Billboard list and like the top 3 songs, and you're like, I haven't heard of these songs, so like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, man, apparently we just don't know music.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that part. I'm like, I see. We're just not musically inclined apparently. So awesome. Second month of Mario in the wraps. I think this one was maybe like a little bit more successful than last year's. Not that last year's was bad. I just didn't really have to struggle as much playing through a game like the night before. So
True.
It's exciting. Oh, and then thanks again to the Retro RPG Show for their support. We're putting that game out hopefully next month, I think. Anyways, regardless, won't bore you guys. Yeah, so with that, thanks for listening. Bye, I guess we say. Bye, everyone.
See you.
Thanks for listening. You can contact Podtendo on Twitter at Podtendo Podcast. Email us at podtendo@gmail.com or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Podtendo. The music of Podtendo was used without permission and is property of Nintendo.